Hello and welcome to another episode of the Right Space podcast where we breathe, dream, create, and inspire. And today, my guest is one of my favorite designers. I call her an artist. I just love the work that she does. And yeah, uh, could you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, Robin. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Ling. I'm a graphic designer and watercolor illustrator. I've been working for corporate companies and boutique agencies, and 2 years ago, I set up my own business. So it's been a very exciting journey so far, and I'm happy to share whatever I know with you today.
Oh, that's so cool. And I know that those watching will definitely learn a lot from you. So, what made you start your own business? Could you give us a bit of a background into what led you to like working with corporate design companies or doing design for corporate companies?
I think at the time I was working for corporate for 6 years and I felt I was stagnant. So I decided to come out and rejoin an agency. But at the time, I felt that it wasn't really what I wanted or where the direction was heading. So I thought with my skill set, it's better I come out and do my own thing rather than follow the trends of what a designer is meant to be. Because right now, as what I see, designers are meant to design, and at the same time, they need to do video and social media and everything else. So I would just like to focus on what I can do best. And yeah, the right people are going to find me. So I'm not too worried about that. So far, it's
Hmm.
been pretty good.
So, when you say like designers are meant to, they're supposed to do social media and design and all that stuff. What is it that you do now that you're in kind of control of your own processes and your own business? Like, let's say a client comes to you. Could you walk us through that process?
Right, that's a good question. Usually, I would focus on brand identity in graphic design because that's what I really enjoy doing. I help you with your branding, your logos, how you represent your company, and things like that. But at the same time, I do get clients who look to me for watercolor illustrations. One of my clients is a retainer, and she does travel stickers, so I quite enjoy doing that. So I get the best of both worlds. But at the same time, it's a good outlet for me to try different things. So when a
Mm.
new client approaches me, one of the things I would try to think is this client looking for me for graphic design, or are they looking for me for my watercolor services? But over time, when more and more clients come in, you can see a pattern. So it's easier for me to find out what they want, what their concerns are, what their challenges are, and how I can help them achieve their goals.
Oh, that's really key because I think when, especially if you're doing the same type of design, for me too, when it comes to like writing and stuff, and with LinkedIn, it's like the more you attract kind of the same type of clients, the more you're able to see what their needs are, and they kind of start saying the same thing over and over. Um, how do you like balance not getting stuck though if you're creating the same kind of? I know you mentioned like with the one client, you're able to do some watercolor stickers for them and that, but how do you like kind of keep yourself from getting stuck when it's from getting stuck again when you're kind of in that niche and you're doing the specific thing for a specific type of client.
How to avoid not getting stuck? I think the key is variety. That's why I do both graphic design and watercolor to keep me on my toes. Because I know for a fact that if I keep doing the same things, I think like everyone does, they tend to
Mm-hmm.
get stuck and they get bored and they get stuck in a loop. So it's good to have variety in terms of clients. Like for me, it's different industries, so it keeps me on my toes. Basically, the principles or the kind of work that I do is the same throughout. You can probably label me a generalist because you can park me in any industry and I do the same thing. But basically, different industries they have different challenges or different mindsets. So it's
Mm.
always something different. When you do something a client likes, eventually they'll tell their friends when their friends are looking for a designer. So eventually you somehow or rather you get the same set of people, and coincidentally, sometimes it works out well. I think you've had attracted similar clients for yourself too, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why I'm bringing up the point, because like I left corporate for the same reason that you did. Like I felt stuck in just doing the same thing over and over again. And then when you're in a business and you're doing things for people and they like what you do, they tell other people, and then it's like you can almost. I think that's one of the reasons people fear niching down or kind of narrowing their focus in terms of what they do. It's because you think, oh my goodness, I'm going to do logos, I'm going to do brand identity systems for everyone. That's all I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But it's in, like you said, it's in those industries, it's in the people that you work with where you find the diversity. Because even with what I do, it's like my process is the same, but the content that I need to research and the content that the industries that like my clients work in, that's very different. And then that becomes interesting because now you have to like research stuff that you've never had to like think about or research before.
Yeah, so I would agree with you that good and bad with niching down, because niching down, if you get the same type of clients, you don't have to start over from scratch every time, because
Mm.
you already have a set template of questions and anticipating what they would ask, what their challenges are, which stage of the process they're in. So those kind of things will work in your favor to minimize the time it takes for you to solve their problem. But at the same time, if it gets too much, sometimes it's okay to look elsewhere or get a referral which is outside your industry, so you get a bit of a break and do something else, and then when you're ready you can come back, you can always come back again.
That's the beauty of like being your own boss. You get to you get to decide. There's this quote from it's in one of the pro group videos, the videos on the Future's YouTube
Mm-hmm.
channel, where this guy says something. I'm trying to pull up the quote. While I do that, tell me about the painting behind you. If for those of you who are only listening, there's these beautiful paintings behind Ling. One is of like a river with lots of pebbles and
Oh, this one.
rocks. Yes, that one.
um, they're done by a famous illustrator, unfortunately not by me, because sometimes we are our own worst critics, because each time we do something for ourselves we always think it's not good enough. So the easiest
Mm.
thing for me to do is to buy an illustration from another artist. I think her name is Janice Song. She's quite popular on Instagram. What she does, she's very good at doing illustrations of female figures, and sometimes from Studio Ghibli references. I think if I spin it around, you can see Totoro over there.
That one I love.
Yeah, so it's a nice reference. Sometimes I do get inspired by other artists rather than keep looking at what I'm doing, because it frees you from being stuck in a little hole. So yeah, thanks for asking.
You're
Are those
welcome.
all?
So I found
Are those your favorite
no.
ones behind you?
So this shelf
Mm-hmm.
over here, this one, these are my
Mm-hmm.
favorites. And the top shelf is like all the books I've read, and below that is stuff that I haven't read. But yeah, where you see Listen for the Light, that shelf is my favorite, and then just behind me over here, these are also my favorites.
Very
And those
nice.
are fantasy books that I like. I found the quote though. It mentioned that about niching and customers is great salespeople and brand builders choose their customers, and that's a quote by Phil Jones from a YouTube video on the Futures channel. And yeah, like I think when I wrote that down because it was just another reminder that as business people, as people who are, we went out on our own to do our own thing, we get to choose who we work with and what we do. And that's kind of the beauty of it all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you recently spoke at an event. You mentioned it on Instagram, and was
Mm-hmm.
that like one of your first public speaking gigs?
It was actually. The
Well
funny thing
done,
was,
first of all.
thank you. The thing is, I didn't even plan on it happening or have it in my bucket list, but it just so happened that on LinkedIn I interact with a few of these mutual friends, and the person who ran this event was the founder of a marketing agency, and he wanted to do like special marketing series of talks where he brings in different experts every week to have a talk with like-minded people and to build a community. So it just so happens that he asked me, "Hey, do you want to come for a talk uh, to showcase what you do to my community?" Then I jokingly asked him, "What do you want me to talk about? How to use Canva?" And he's like, "No, I want you to talk about branding and stuff." So I was quite fortunate. The community is very tight knit. It's a very safe space for us to talk. At the same time, we have other experts as well who talk about how leadership, how to manage things like burnout. There was a lady who was brought in from Singapore who was talking about building a personal brand. So we get to learn about all these things. And
Mm,
to be honest, when I found out what my deck was, because they had a rule where the speaker doesn't do their deck, they do their decks for us, so we just
seriously.
walked right in. So the night before, I had to look at the material and think about what I want to say. I was pacing in my room up and down just to make sure I don't get the ums and ahs during the speech. So yeah, I'm doing it now. Luckily, it went very well. I've had a few people come up to me and say it was good. They didn't expect me to be a first timer because the thing is, my topic was to talk about design principles, which is something I've already known for a long time because I've been a
Mm,
designer for 20 years. But for a lot of entrepreneurs, they couldn't afford the services of a designer, and so they took it upon themselves to go to Canva, get a template, and move things around. But half the time, sometimes they just need a little nudge to teach them how to fish. So a week after that, I went back to the same community for another speech, and some of them they came up to me and they're so excited because they told me, "Hey, after your talk, I looked closely at how colors were used, and I redesigned the poster." They were so excited, and I feel like, wow, I've actually created an impact for these people. Um, I'm gobsmacked. It's a very nice feeling to actually share things which they don't think about, and they're actually improving. They have retention, and they're actually using it in their daily lives.
that's really cool. And what are
Thank you.
some of those design principles that you shared with them?
These are basics we would learn in school, but maybe some of us forgot along the way. Things like how to use color, how what each color represents, like how red is used in food industries, and how blue gives you a sense of trust, like how blue is used for banks and things like that.
Mm,
The other topics we will go into is like the use of fonts, the difference between serif and sans serif. We will go into a hierarchy of how things are laid out, what your eye needs to see, and we have to keep reminding them that each time you put an ad out or a post on LinkedIn, the viewer only has 5 seconds to decide whether they want to stay with you or not. So it's things like that that gives the audience something to think about rather than just pushing things around thinking it'll work because they're trying to stuff everything in. So I gave them examples of how a simple thing like a social post where there's a ad about a sale that's like a 20% off, and at the same time another ad that shows a very cluttered social post. So I gave them two very simple questions. Number to decide for themselves whether it's good design. So the first one is, Is it something that you can easily understand? And number two, does it hurt my eyes?
Ooh.
So it's very simple. When it hurts your eyes, what I meant is it too cluttered or does it confuse you too much to pick out the information you need? Because a lot of people they have a tendency to stuff all the information in without thinking, stepping back and looking at it and saying, "Oh, that's just too much." So I need them all to create more white space so the eyes and the brain can breathe. So it helps them a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
those
So
are
for
more or less.
for
Hmm?
so those are, I think those are two good things to kind of measure any kind of, like, for non-designers
Mm-hmm.
to use as like a way to proofread or to analyze their own thing, is like, um, is it telling you what you're supposed to say? Is it
Mm-hmm.
getting the message across? And does it hurt your eyes? Because even if you're not like a trained designer or anything, we all have our personal standards of, like, you see something and it's like, ah, for me it's like patterns.
I know.
You know, like the wallpaper with all the patterns and things. I see stuff like that, or even like on clothes with, um, I don't know, some clothes have lots of patterns and things, and then I see it, and to someone else it's beautiful, but to me it
Mm-hmm.
might be like it's too much. It hurts my eyes, and so like if it hurts your eyes, it might hurt your viewers' eyes as well. And I
Exactly.
think that's a really really cool way of that anyone can kind of approach it. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
I'm not dissing people who like patterns, but if you do want to use a pattern, use it sparingly, please.
Yeah. I learned from one of my clients that I worked with as a designer, and I designed like her her LinkedIn graphics, the graphics for
Mm-hmm.
her LinkedIn. And because she is a designer, I kind of started freaking out, especially because like she used a lot of patterns in her background, a lot of like architectural, you know, like those waves
Uh-huh.
and things like that. And so there were times when in the process of working together, I actually got to learn like her taste and what she liked and what she didn't like and how she like used them and stuff. And there is like there's an art to it, because sometimes it can be that thing where it's where the patterns in the background with the waves or whatever, they're overshadowing the actual message.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there are ways that they're actually highlighting the message as well, which is cool. Speaking of LinkedIn, you have a really nice approach to LinkedIn, which is a bit different from some of the other people that I follow and some of the other people that I've had on here, where you share mostly your, from the host that I've seen, you talk about, you celebrate kind of the work that you do, and then
Mm-hmm.
also you go to a lot of places, or it looks like on LinkedIn as if you go to a lot of events
Well,
and meetups. Can
highlight
you tell
reels.
us a bit about that?
uh, Basically, you're right because different people approach LinkedIn differently, and I'm pretty sure you would heard of LinkedIn gurus or even social media gurus who talk about the four pillars of content. At one point, I was wondering what to post, but usually graphic designers post their own portfolio, so that's already one. It's a given. Like whatever work I have, which is allowed to be released by the client, I'll post that first because it shows authority of all things. I'm pretty sure you do that as well. When you show your newsletter and your thoughts behind the things you talk about and how you can easily overcome challenges that are faced by your clients, like maybe procrastination, if I'm not wrong. So it's one of those things. And because I've been busy for most part of the year, so I'm only starting to get active again, like going out and meeting people. So it helps to show yourself up. Otherwise, people would be they won't know who you are. And that marketing platform was is actually a good decision for me to take part in because I met so many people. At any given week, I'll get at least two or three new contacts. So that helps build your build your followers as well. And it also helps you practice like because over time you will get asked over and over again, what do you do? There's this 30-second elevator pitch, those kind of things. And at the same time, you need to show a bit of yourself. Like recently, I went to an herbal sketching event in Penang, which is a few states up north, to really be connected with who I was before I was on LinkedIn. There was a time when I was urban sketching, and the concept was we sketch whatever we see in front of us. It could be food, it could be the side of the road, people, anything like that. So to have most countries in Asia come together, like 600 of us in this small island, it was quite an experience. So that has to go on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, that's like I'm really impressed with that because it is different, and I think it shows again that there's no one way to like put yourself out there. Another quote from that YouTube video I mentioned is one from Christo where he says that all strategy is autobiographical. There's no one way except for the way that works for you. And it
That's
sounds like I'm
true.
saying it verbatim because I'm reading it.
You can put that quote
Yeah.
down
Yes.
because I
But like
know
you
people.
find,
Yeah, go
no, you
on.
can continue.
Because I know people who want to establish themselves as a thought leaders or people with authority, but over time, I guess when people like me will get bored easily, so if we keep seeing the same thing, we'll look somewhere else. So at the same time, I we don't want to be someone who are not, because I've met someone who would post certain things on LinkedIn, but when they met him in person, the way he speaks, the way he presents himself is like a total opposite of what they expect online. So it's always a very good idea to post you as you and not how you want people to perceive you, and try to minimize ChatGPT so much. I know it's a very useful tool, but at the same time, use a bit of character. It's okay to draft a bit, just keep it short. Over time, you will self edit yourself, and then I think over time we can all benefit with practice. There's no such thing as a perfect post. Just post. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely totally agree with that. Going on to the networking part, something I wanted to ask you. So you
Mhm.
mentioned that when you're going to an event and you're networking with people, it's important to um, like obviously meet people. And then you
Mhm.
mentioned the 30 elevator pitch. Do you have any advice? The elevator pitch and then having something of yourself to give. Do you have any advice or tips for people who might be listening, who want to go to like I'm one of those people where I don't like going to networking events. I don't like in-person events, but I know I need to go there. Do you have any tips or advice for people like me, ways to arm ourselves? Sounds weird, but ways to prepare that makes it a bit easier so that you're getting the best out of it for your business.
So when you say you hate going to these events, what's stopping you? Is it fear, or do you feel like it drains your energy, or you're not motivated to leave the house?
It drains my energy.
Uh-huh.
It's just that, like I'm an introvert, so just the idea of going somewhere.
I complete I completely understand, because before that I
You
thought
need to
I'm
mentally
an introvert,
prepare.
and when I did the test again, it turns out I'm like a 55% introvert. So now I'm an ambivert. So I think the easiest thing I tell myself is to just go and not overthink it, because the best the what I don't tell most people is I get this training because I usually end up going for wedding dinners by myself. I have no one to rely on, like no crutches, no friends or nothing. I just show up by myself. So there's never an excuse for me to just stay there and not and just talk to my friend, because if I show up and not carry myself well, I'll just end up sulking for the whole time or just looking at my phone. So few months ago, me and my other friend were trying to drag another friend to a networking event, which coincidentally is called I Hate Marketing. And this friend, like just like you, she's an introvert. She was quite nervous because I think she mentioned that it's easier for her to talk to a few people and not meet 200 people at the same time. So I just gave her a little goal. The little goal is, can you make one new friend today? So I feel that if it's achievable and if it's something you can look forward to, at the end of the day, we'll just talk. You only have to talk to one friend or one new person. So making it a small achievable goal is already a very good achievement in itself. And I honestly, I don't go in armed with a list of questions. Sometimes it just depends on intuition and who you stand to. My second rule is don't stick to the wall. If you can, hold a drink, hold something in your hand, go to where the food is and make a lame comment and start talking. Sometimes people are just people. Even if the speakers they seem like they have like 20 years of experience, in the end of the day, they're just people. You just treat them normally. I think it'll be fine. They'll appreciate you for it. Anything else you want to ask? Probably I can give you more context on how to approach situations like this.
It's no, that was really good. I think staying away from the wall
Mm-hmm.
is a good idea, and then going to where people are and saying something. So like the drinks table or the food table, um, or if you're like I don't know at some events there might be like things happening outside with different vendors. Just like going there, speaking to those vendors, that's also a good idea, I suppose. And it kind of reminded me of when I used in high school when we used to do like go to camping things. And sometimes we'd go like with like there would be a bunch of different schools. I remember in my last year we had this specific camp for math, science, and accounting students. And it was like all from different schools, and we all went to this camp, and someone came and taught us things. Um, so, like at that one, there were some kids from my school, there were two other kids from my school, but I found like one other person, and
Mm-hmm.
that was like my buddy for the rest of the camp.
Oh, I totally get it because you won't be the only one who's nervous. You just need to find someone else who's just as nervous because they'll be like worrying, what am I doing here? Am I going to be talking to myself the whole time? Do I really need to be here? So just
Mm,
if a group of people who are already chatting intimidates you, just walk around. It helps when you early because you can make friends early, and then the more people
yeah,
join in, they already think that you're already popular, so they'll just magnetize to you. So that's one psychology trick you can think about. Be
mm,
early, be by the food, make silly comments. I think it's fine. I mean, one icebreaker for me is when we have our own lanyard, right? Like we go for events and then you have your lanyard, your name, and naturally you have to talk about your job or your company, which inevitably you do have to talk about. Otherwise, I think the easiest thing for me is to mix with people who is outside your industry. So it promotes curiosity rather than you all talking about the same thing. I think that's the only good thing I can think of right now. Apart from that, just keep talking. Don't worry about being perfect or making mistakes. We're all human. I think if you can laugh at
yeah.
yourself, everyone will be at ease and they'll treat you like a human being, like everyone should. I think otherwise it's just good practice. Just go.
Just go.
Yeah, just go.
Well, Ling, it's been lovely having you on the podcast. Where can people find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Chui Ling Lao, or they can go to my Instagram handler called Crimson Name Stick, the name of my company. Basically, you can just find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk to you.
Great. Well, I'll be sure to include those links in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for listening. If you made it this far, drop us a comment in the comment section and ask a question that we can get linked to ask to answer next time when she's here.
Thank you so much for having me, Robin. It's been great.
uh, you're most welcome. Yeah, check you guys next time, same day next week. See you then. Bye.
See ya.